Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Prespective. Shehbaz Sharif has been arrested today, leader of the opposition in the National Assembly. The implications of this arrest as far as within the party is concerned, as far as in the National Assembly is concerned, on politics is concerned, let's talk about that. We'll also be talking about the politics of constructive politics versus destructive politics, whether we are there has been accusations from the PMLN that we are perhaps moving towards the politics of 90s. Let's talk about that. Let's also talk about the challenges that the government faces in the face of this kind of political upheaval, whether this will result in a kind of challenge to the government as well or not. I have with me Asmatullah Niazi Saab, who's a senior analyst. Thank you for joining us, Niazi Saab. Imtiaz Hussain Warrich Saab, who's a legal expert. Thank you for being with us today. And Raja Faisal Saab, who's a senior journalist. Thank you for joining us today. Niazi Saab, it's certainly an arrest of consequence. The opposition leader of the country being arrested. Certainly the background, I'm sure, we all know what happened with the former Prime Minister himself, his family, the death. What kind of an image, what kind of a message does it send out, if any? Isn't it just the law taking its course on the one side, where, whoever the person is, whoever the accused is, the law must take its course? That itself is a reality, should be a reality in any democratic country.
Yesterday I wrote a piece on this whole issue, starting from Rana Mashood and the way the government is dealing with the situation, and the way the proceedings of Senate and the Assembly is going on. Right. It seems that the politics ahead would be a kind of a clash and aggressive politics and accusations, counter accusations, and this particular incident and the arrest of Shehbaz Sharif tells the entire story. That I think they earlier before elections, Nawaz Sharif was arrested, and before by-election, you see there is a huge operation
of the timing of the arrest itself.
It's bringing a very bad name. You could have taken steps much earlier, or you could have taken steps to arrest or proceeding against Shehbaz Sharif after the by-election. You see, this would certainly going to affect your credibility.
Now, why should as far as the legal side of things is concerned, I'm going to go to Imtiaz Saab for that. Imtiaz Saab, as far as the legal side of things is concerned, why should the by-elections matter? In the sense that, that is the politics of it. And if there was already Hassan Fawad was already under custody and that matter was being investigated, if the NAB felt that at this point they have the evidence and therefore they need to get to the arrest, isn't that how it should have been?
Yeah, I guess exactly it did happen because initially because of the stature of Shehbaz Sharif, right, they probed into in detail, you see, about the issues and allegations which were leveled against the government of Punjab, the then government of Punjab, right, and obviously Shehbaz Sharif was head of that government. So if you see that allegations are going to be proved, or you see there are some solid evidences against Hassan Fawad and
etc. The moment that the NAB does feel that it has the kind of solid evidence that it needs to present the accused in court the following day, they will proceed. Is it not true?
No, that's why, because when they have collected all the evidence and solid evidence, and after that they felt that no, this is the stage that now
they need to move on with the
main accused, right, who was chief executive of the province at that time, and who approved all the things which were under question. Right. So they took that step and they arrested him.
Right.
I guess this is the reason.
So legally, but political side of things, I mean, if you look at the politics, of course, the by-elections are irrelevant. The death of Kulsoom Nawaz Saiba, we've just, it's been a few weeks from that. The death itself, the former Prime Minister is in mourning, the whole family, of course, And then the by-elections are important, of course. Then also the fact that he's the opposition leader of the country, the Assembly, that is also important. All of those things are important politically speaking, right?
There are two things. Number one, you see that if being a politician, right, certainly they will try to, capitalize this
Right.
That at the time before the by-elections, they have arrested to Mia Shehbaz Sharif. He is opposition leader and president of the Pakistan PMLN.
Right.
And they will accuse that he has the PMLN has been stopped to conduct election campaign during these by-election because there are many seats which have to be filled by because of those elections. So they will use that. But on the other side, you see that that law is very clear, and there is ample time they have spent on the investigation of even some people had started talking that why Fawad Hassan Fawad and Chima, they are still being interrogated and investigated.
Because the remand was, they were constantly being asked to be, presented in court. Remand was being requested again and again, and that had been happening for a few weeks now.
Yeah. So after, because I guess that they had solid, I'm not sure what is inside in NAB, but I'm sure that they have some solid evidences which are available against Mia Shehbaz Sharif. And this is the stage now, because certainly maybe they have also consideration in their mind that the government should be formed and the assembly should be in operation, and the decision about the roles of opposition leader and this should be done.
Let me go to Raja Saab. I'll come back to you. Raja Saab, what do you think, politically speaking? What kind of a fallout, if any, can be expected from this arrest?
Well, I have a very different narrative about it. What I believe is this is surely going to help PMLN to come closer to each other once again. Why? Because we very well know that before this there were vibes that there is a partition within the party, and one of the party is under the provincial influence, which means that they have feelings for Shehbaz Sharif to come forward, and the other party within the party they have feelings for Maryam Nawaz. So I think that is going to dry down now.
You think that the rumors about there being a partition within the party
and that will only help PMLN to unite once again. Why? Because now they don't have. Previously, obviously, a few of the factions of the party, they were talking that all the guns are facing towards Nawaz Sharif, and nobody's talking about Shehbaz Sharif. But now,
and also, there was that whole narrative of victimization, which the former Prime Minister and his daughter Maryam Saiba were always, were talking about, and also Shehbaz Sharif was talking about it, but not so much. And today Hamza Shehbaz himself in the press conferences said that we are being victimized against as a party, as a family. So that itself, I guess, gives credence to the
around this event. The whole by-election would be encircled around this, and of course this is going to help PMLN rather than any other party. Why? Because everybody would be talking about the same thing. We can never neglect Shehbaz Sharif. He has played a vital role in previous two governments. Of course, he was running the government, and he was the man who was running the show. And he has contributed towards the infrastructure of the province. So I believe his capture is going to help PMLN.
Right. You think it will help?
It will.
But what about in the National Assembly itself? What kind of a fallout can the government expect? Because, obviously the Treasury benches versus the opposition. Do you think the opposition itself, there has been, earlier on there was talk about, the opposition not being the kind of opposition that we should have in the National Assembly. With this arrest, would it create a kind of, more friction perhaps? Make things difficult for the assembly as far as, because the numbers are really not that great as far as the Treasury benches are concerned.
This event is unprecedented when we talk about the National Assembly. Why? Because in the recent past we have never gone through an aspect or a phase where opposition leader gets caught for corruption charges, and that too very early in a government, as we have a government which has just spent a month in the office, and the opposition leader, he gets caught and he is being tried for the cases. This is obviously very important, and in the coming days we would be seeing its effects in the parliament as well. Why? Because when the opposition benches would not find their leader in there, then of course it would be a serious trouble.
And Nelson, the National Accounts, the National Accounts Committee also, as that itself, is a huge. The chairmanship of that is just pending. It's around the corner. It was expected that the government would offer to the opposition. This kind of creates bad feeling, does it not?
Actually, disagreeing with Raja Sahab,
right.
I think this would certainly bring together the entire opposition together in the National Assembly, in the Punjab Assembly, and if you see and if you recall the way Chairman Senate conducted the proceeding day before yesterday, that is very important to analyze. I think there would be more joint action, because as you know that for by-election, they have a seat adjustment with PMLN and Pakistan. Today he mentioned, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, he mentioned that we are not going to marry PMLN, though they have been intriguing us, and they've been victimized us in the past. But we, when Bibi Shahid signed a charter for democracy, why can't we go for these kind of adjustment? So I think this would certainly bring them together. But I think now the next step would be to divide PMLN in Punjab. I think there might be some kind of a forward block.
You think there will be a power play as far as?
Yes, there will be more power play and more politics in days to come, yes.
Whereas, and it'll, of course, with the Shehbaz Sharif Sahab in the jail or under custody, this will, and of course, Chaudhry is also becoming relevant.
Chaudhrys would certainly play a very active role in dividing PMLN into 2 groups or 3 groups, or creating a single forward block, because they're master in doing this. As you know, that Chaudhry Shujat is also contesting election, and this is very important to see into. I think this would certainly bring.
But now Punjab is already a part of the government. I mean, the PMLN has lost it. As far as
when you see the number of seats being contested during by-election, I think it's around 13 seats, and they have. If you see the election of senator day before yesterday, only 11 or 12 votes they were able to belt, and it's a very narrow kind of edge they are having, and the appointment of Usman Buzdar as a chief minister of one of the largest province of the country is also raising question, and even his performance needs to be discussed. I think if PTI wants to play a longer inning, they have to take certain pragmatic step instead of cosmetic steps. And I don't see that they might not be having a kind of a role in the rest of Shehbaz Sharif, but you see, this is.
But
certainly.
They have said, and I'll come back to you, Imtiaz Sahab, the government is categorical in saying that they have nothing to do with this arrest. They are categorical in saying that NAB this was under investigation from the time that the PMLN was in government. Now they have the proof, and therefore the law, like I said, the law has taken its course. They've also said that further arrests will follow and that they will not compromise on corruption, saying that, from the very beginning they've been saying that they will clamp down on corruption. It's one of the main points, even before the elections, after the elections, it remains on the agenda. So, what's your point on? What's your opinion on this, as far as the government and these allegations of the PMLN are concerned?
You see that PMLN, certainly they will try to use these type of allegations, and they will say that they are being victimized and they will being isolated, and they are not being free hand and level playing field to contest these by-elections. And of course, but as Niazi has pointed out, that I also foresee that there may be some type of forward block, because you see that at present what we can say that generally the trend of politicians, and especially down the line, you see, in our rural area, they have different type of, you see, considerations in their mind. They are not much visionary, or you said they have not much idealistic type of politicians. So they have nitty-gritty things, you see, they have to settle, and they have to go to thanas and you see courts, and if they can get some type of, you see, support for those nitty-gritty small things for their voters and their areas. So in this situation, they will become more hopeless, you see. And what I am foreseeing that the next generation politics in Pakistan, like the similar thing, you see, Mr. Zardari is facing now, his sister is facing, and FIA, they have a very, very strong case, especially of money laundering and this type of thing, and FIA is working very, you see, actively in Karachi, and all their senior officers, they are there, and they are preparing that. So I foresee maybe there is a likelihood that he may be also in trouble. So because of that trouble, yes, as Niazi has said that maybe they will try to, you see, you see, unite themselves up, because they are forcing that
like
next turn is their turn.
There will be a strong opposition in the face of adversity.
Because they are foreseeing that something can happen to them as well. And the second thing which I just pointed out, that future of, you see, next generation, number one, I think that if Zardari is going to some trouble, and if he goes to behind the bar, Bilawal will take over, you see. Here, Mariam,
a very intelligent person.
Bilawal Bhutto.
Every young man is an intelligent person, but I must say that he belongs to that family, and there's nothing, nobody is there who can replace this.
Right, he is the likely successor.
And similar thing is in PMLN. If we compare with Hamza Shehbaz and Mariam Nawaz, I guess Mariam Nawaz has more, you see, opportunity, because she is more liked by the PMLN workers and people, and she has also, you see, demonstrated her leadership skills during election campaign.
Right, and then being in jail also.
And so even you see that she contested election on for her mother.
Yes.
In that, you see, constituency, and her mother was successful there. So the next generation, I guess, this is the time that is coming forward in politics from those both big parties like People's Party and PMLN. This is what and the third thing, I must say that it all depends that PTI what demonstrates during these 100 days. If they set some milestones and some, you see,
but Imtiaz Sahab, on the one hand, of course, the 100 days are very important. The PTI has categorically been saying, wait for the 100 days, let us set a direction. And they want to set that direction. We have, sorry, the difficulties that we have as far as our finances are concerned, as far as our economics are concerned, that's on the other side. With this kind of an opposition brewing, they will have a more difficult task dealing with those things. Let me go on to Raja Sahab. I'll come back to Raja Sahab. Isn't that true? I mean, you know, this is another front, so to speak. When there is already that economic issue, there is, you know, the team of the IMF was supposed to leave today. Then we have the Saudi investment, the question of that, whether that will actually translate or not. That situation itself, these kind of important decisions. And then on the other hand, this opens a new kind of chapter, does it not? For the government.
For the government, well, I think it is very early to say that, you know, PTI's government hasn't been performing well. Why?
No.
Because
the performance is another. I mean, I'm not questioning the performance. I'm saying that it's another. I mean, it's another challenge, so to speak. Is it not at this point?
It is a challenge, and what I believe, when PTI was handed over the government, all of the alibis and, you know, avenues which could take Pakistan quickly towards the prosperity or something, they had hurdles, and they are fighting them hurdles, and we should give them a reasonable time to, like, you know, go through the things, and it's like, you know, whenever you shift somewhere, you have to, like, you know, rehabilitate there. So we should give them, you know, a time to, like, you know, think about the things proper way.
And they're saying that, well, we have nothing to do with this. This is part of the inquiry which was happening, and let it go through.
Exactly.
Our government is separate from it. So their
Exactly.
narrative is very clear.
Exactly. One thing I would like to mention
Right,
here.
I'll come back to you.
I would like to mention here something, and I think if I'm wrong, Niazi Saab is just like my mentor, and he can correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
The previous NAB chairman, he was summoned to come to
The court,
the courts,
right,
and
Supreme
he
Court.
was asked why didn't he, you know,
Start the
challenge
inquiry.
the
Right.
case of Hudaybiyah paper mill.
Right.
And he said that he wasn't empowered enough. This is
Right.
what he said at that time.
Right.
And I believe these were the problems with the NAB.
Right.
And Imran Khan, being someone who has been advocating pre-election and during elections as well, that NAB
Should be empowered.
Should be
Institutions
empowered.
should be empowered. Yes, that is
should
what
be
the
empowered,
PTI has been
and
saying.
NAB as an accountability watchdog
Right,
should
right.
be given adequate powers to
Right.
deal with
and it
anyone.
should not be used for, you know, any sort
Political
of
purposes
political
or anything
purposes.
like
Yes,
that.
Yes.
So
And so they're sticking by this, you're saying.
they are actually going through their plans, and we have seen that, you know, there are cases against their own party as well, party members. They have the cases, and them cases are running through as well. Meanwhile, there are certain cases against the People's Party as
Right.
well.
So
And
across the board accountability,
it
which is
is
what
across
they've been
the board.
advocating, should
And
be
right now, what we see is NAB is reflecting that it is
autonomous
an empowered,
and it
autonomous
is doing
body.
that. Right, right. Let me go on. Niazi Saab, coming over to you, you were saying.
Actually, you see, I agree with this notion that they have nothing to do with the proceedings of the NAB. The government has nothing to do. But you see, government has to ensure that transparency and the process of accountability, and they have to open the process of the proceeding against Nawaz Sharif and Shehbaz Sharif, and they must brief the media so that people can understand what's going on,
Right.
and what kind of evidence they have provided,
Right.
particularly Ahad Cheema and Fawad Hassan. You see, they were running the entire affair process of Ashana Home or rest of the companies, 16 companies which were made to launch companies, different company projects. So I think the process should be open, the
Right.
proceedings should be open, and particularly the media should be informed about the entire proceeding against Shehbaz Sharif, Nawaz Sharif, Maryam
Right.
Nawaz Safdar. And as far as the previous
And they say that it is of what, to the tune of 56 billion rupees, as far
whatever
as
it is, right? You see, it's a huge amount. And what kind of evidence they have to arrest Shehbaz Sharif, because he is an elected representative,
Right.
and he's a leader of the opposition, and he was supposed to become a chairman of public
Accounts
accounts,
Committee.
which is one of the most important body of
Right.
the parliament. So you cannot hide things which are against him,
Right, of
and you have to prove that yes, he was not able,
Right.
and he was not supposed to be taken over as a chairman PSC. So
Right.
this is very important for public to know the entire proceeding and allegations and documentation which proves that he was guilty
Right.
of
Another issue, Niazi Saab, before I go on to Imtiaz Saab, if this investigation goes forth, right now it is an investigation. If it goes forth and he is charged, then of course the question of his membership of the parliament, then the fact that he is the leader of the opposition, all of that also.
You see,
the
the
effect of that.
621F has been used and will be
Yes.
used, and it will continue to be used against it
Right.
until these politicians should not going to do away with these kind of amendments.
Right.
You see, these are kind of acts on them. Like previously, it was 58(2)(b) on entire parliament.
Right.
So they have to look into.
So maybe disqualification, we don't know yet.
If
There's
there
no
are
way of knowing,
if
but
there are solid evidences against them, certainly he is going to lose.
because we saw what happened with the former Prime Minister Imtiaz Saab. So there are a lot of huge stakes
Yeah.
for Shehbaz Sharif himself and the PMLN also.
You see that actually...
Right now, with the former Prime Minister not being there, his daughter not being there, he is the person for the PMLN in the National Assembly. Of course, he's the opposition leader also. So, of course, for them, the implications of this can be, you know, huge.
I can understand, but you see that this thing cannot give exemption to any person, you see. If he has done something wrong,
of course,
Right,
yes.
exactly.
Under the law, they have solid evidence. You see, there are two stages in every investigation. Before investigation, they have inquiry.
Right.
So they conducted initial inquiry. They apprehended the chief executive of land company and other his officers, senior officer like company secretary, these type of. Then they apprehended, you see, Hassan Fuad, and the other side, Ahad Chima. And the investigation started because once they were arrested, the investigation started against them.
Right.
But by that time, the inquiry was being conducted against Mia Shehbaz Sharif. He was not arrested. Now he has been arrested. After, I'm sure that they have got some solid evidences.
But Imtiaz, what happens in court tomorrow? They present Shehbaz Sharif and then they ask for remand. Is that true?
Yeah.
What is the role of corroborative evidence? I mean, there is, you know, they have to have corroborative evidence. What exactly does that mean? How does that play out in court tomorrow?
You see, that initial evidence they will produce before court tomorrow, I'm
Right.
sure, because before taking remand for some days, maybe for 1 month, maybe for 15 days, it depends that court has to give this remand.
The time period can be as much as this, you know, it's the discretion of the court.
The time, that is discretion of the court actually.
Right.
So at that time they will give something concrete. They will produce before the court that this is we have got from other accused, co-accused, and now we have arrested him and we need of his custody on remand, and we have to investigate on these lines and we need of so much time. They will certainly ask more days, but court will give certainly little less days.
Right, right.
And thereafter, during that time, they will have to investigate. So during this period, I'm not optimistic that Mia Shehbaz Sharif can get any bail because during investigation, bail cannot be granted. Generally, it is not done, and especially in the NABE cases, accountability cases. So in that situation, I guess
Right.
that they will easily get remand because this is first time because they have arrested
Right.
and they have
Right.
to get remand. And after that remand, then court may ask that what further investigation.
If they've been able to yield any other
Anything, and
information
further
that-
they will say that we have to do this further investigation, and we will have to collect more investigation.
Right.
Because during during physical remand period, they have to you see collect evidences from the accused or through the accused. So this is the process which is going to be taken, and that will be, you see, in public open court. So everything will come in the press, I guess by the evening of tomorrow.
Right.
That will come because the evidence which they will produce so far, certainly that will not be complete evidence.
What about the role of, you know, has Fawad become an informant? Is that clear, or, you know, because they've acted out
Approver.
on his approver? Sorry,
Yeah.
they've acted out on his information. That is true.
No,
right?
it is not confirmed, but there are two types, you see, which we have heard and read. That one thing is that they arrange contradiction of Mia Shehbaz Sharif and Hassan Fuad,
Right.
even Ahad Chima. And but more we have heard about Fuad and Hassan Fuad.
Right.
And Hassan Fuad, in the presence of Mia Shehbaz Sharif, he said that whatever I had been doing,
Right.
he did with the
Instructions of-
with the instruction
right,
of Mia
right,
Shehbaz Sharif.
Right.
I
Right.
think Marokh, PMLN, especially Shehbaz Sharif, he has an ample opportunity to actually go through it once for all, go through it. Why? Because these allegations, they persisted since quite a long time now, and it is an opportunity for him
Right.
to actually go through the case
And to prove that
prove
really,
that
if
he's-
there is something there or not.
there is something or not,
Right.
and once for all come out of it clean,
Right.
prove that he never done anything wrong.
Right.
When he comes out of it, he would be, of course, in a position to grab more votes from more votes from the
And prove
people of
and,
Punjab.
you know, prove that he's clean. We're talking about 62(1)(f). We're talking
Yeah.
about the law itself, the provisions of it. So, of course, like I said, he has a lot to lose and a lot to gain if he proves himself.
For the moment, they might be losing.
Correct.
But in future,
Right.
if they are coming out of it, clean out of it,
Right.
then of course it would be, it it would be all hunky-dory for PMLN, especially Shehbaz Sharif. So I believe it should be taken as a positive by the PMLN and by the Shehbaz Sharif.
Right. Now, it should be taken positively. Do you think that?
I think you see, as far as this is becoming approver by Fawaz and Fawaz, I think the entire responsibility lies on the shoulder of Fawaz and Fawaz. If there are kind of a misuse of power and this kind of thing, if you go through the Anita Turab case, right. There is a set principle D. Paragraph 17, if you read this, misuse of power and refusal for illegal and unlawful orders right. from the political leadership, you have to refuse. This is a set principle set by the Supreme Court of Pakistan in a Anita Turab case. I think they have more responsibility. I have heard a statement of spokesman of PMLN, his name is Nawaz Khan or what, I've forgotten. He was saying that he was giving instruction, he had given instruction to entire bureaucracy to speedy implement the process so that projects could be
of course, so this could be on time.
Yes, on time.
And he's known for his ability
yes,
to deliver.
But I think that was the responsibility of the bureaucracy and the officials
to make sure that everything
yes, to follow the PAPRA rules. Actually,
follow,
the issue
yes,
is
to follow the law.
The law, yes.
Right.
So I think if he has become approver, but more responsibility lies on the shoulder of Fawaz and Fawad and Ahad Chima, and there is another one Ahad. There was another official as Ahad Chima. Yes, Ahad
Chima.
So I think
and of course, the bureaucracy has been known to be golden boys, so to speak, of Shehbaz Sharif, very much his team. And it is said that he's always been relying on the bureaucracy rather than the public
government. They are the actual government. You see, if there is a summary put up, it has to be approved by the secretary,
right.
And only a minister sees that. It is written on the summary. May bail me out. I think it is only said that the minister has seen the summary.
Right. But Niazi, other than that also, I mean, generally the criticism as far as the PMLN government, one of the things that was talked about, and I think I'm sure that you all remember, is that, you know, the public representatives, the MNAs and MPAs were always, you know, a tier less than the bureaucracy, and it was also, you know, the team, the core team of the former CM.
He's a chief executive. I'm not favoring Shehbaz Sharif. If there are evidences of misuse of power and corruption, he must be taken to the courts and he should be punished. But you see, the bureaucracy have more shoulders. They should not be yes sir all the time. They should advise properly because they are paid to advise the government, not to obey every legal or illegal orders. Particularly the illegal, they are not supposed to do it. Right. They should follow the procedure. And
which brings us to the whole question about empowering institutions so that they're in a position to say no, which is what the PTI stands for, right, Imtiaz?
Yeah, you are quite right. Actually, you see that to the extent of every action, every member of bureaucracy, whether he is section officer, deputy secretary, or additional secretary, he is responsible of his deeds.
Right.
And he cannot say that I have been asked to do this.
The whole question about transfer postings and, you know, that being in the hands of the politicians.
So that is the reason actually they blackmail them, and bureaucracy, they have also, you see, some other interests, you see, for those postings. Otherwise, you see, an honest officer, he has no need of any posting, you see.
Exactly.
Wherever he is posted, he will perform there. If he is sitting somewhere, you see, in post office, he will do work there and he getting salary. But they have also some interests because they want to assert their power.
It's inconvenient.
Assert their power.
Children studying in schools and all
this
of
is
that.
this is the issue. So main thing is this. But at the same time, Chief Minister is the Chief Executive of the province.
Right.
We cannot give him free hand that he is innocent, because it is his responsibility, and all policy is given by Cabinet, which is headed by Chief Executive. So they have to monitor the activity of bureaucracy. And if they are doing wrong, if they have to run by bureaucracy, then there is no fund of cabinet.
Right.
So
Which is in a sense one of the criticisms of the PMLN government, that really bureaucracy was running the show.
So this is the problem, because what they did, you see.
Isn't that true in your opinion, Raja Sahab?
Well,
I mean, one of the criticisms has been that.
There is no denial to it.
Yes.
there is no denial, but one very important thing I want to raise up here, you know, bureaucrats and the golden boys we were talking about.
Right.
If we look at their services and if we look at their salaries, and then we look at their assets they have created throughout their service times,
Right.
that do not match,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and that is sort of prime of sight, if I'm not wrong, is the word which can be used for this, that, you know, everything is speaking for itself.
So
you
are
know.
we going to do their money trail also now?
There must be.
It must be. It must be of everyone. Even if I have something which I can't prove, where did I get it from? Then
Right.
of course I should be asked about it. You know, every person should come forward and be clean of himself. You know, where did he got something from? He should be, you know,
Right.
given the evidences as well. And if we look at Fawad Hassan Fawad and Ahad Cheema, they have created, and their families, they are owning assets in billions and billions of rupees. And
But
By
when
all
they are-
means,
When we talk about bureaucracy, Imran Khan
Yeah.
himself also, I mean, he spoke to the bureaucracy. Let's talk about his address to the bureaucracy. He addressed all these things. He said that, you know, the money that is given to them, their salaries are not enough. They have to be pushed up to a level where they don't need to do all these things, where their children can be educated, where their children can study in schools like Edison. He spoke about that. And he talked about revamping them. He talked about changing the structure, empowering them more, all of that. Of course, before the PTI gets to that, I mean, it's only been, what, 47, 48 days. Do you think things can change?
Not very quickly, no. For 70 years, we had this kind of setup going
Right.
on. And I think expecting that, you know, this would suddenly change, and even if, you know, Imran Khan obviously in that speech expected a lot from the bureaucrats
Bureaucracy,
and civil servants, he was
He asked for
expecting
2
a lot.
years. He said that, you know, he needs that time to be able to implement the initiatives that he has in mind for the
You know,
bureaucracy in the
this is
country.
something very, it's a sort of thing which only prophets can do, you know, changing somebody overnight. Imran
Right, of
can't do
course,
that.
of course.
Imran can't do that, and I believe if the Premier keeps on, you know, visiting more and more the officers, it will bring a positive effect. And he being the leader of the government, he leading from the front, he should prove it that if he can do it, everyone should do it. You know, and I think to some extent he has been doing it, and he would continue. Why? Because he made very big promises, and he has to stick to them
Deliver them.
promises.
He has to
to
deliver.
deliver. There is no other option. Why? Because there are millions and millions of youth who actually voted for him and who were basically sick of the other two parties, and they chose the third party. And if they are putting their trust on Imran Khan, Imran Khan has a responsibility to deliver. If he doesn't deliver, then that youth would never, you know,
Of course, they need
trust
to cater to
anyone
their vote
anymore.
bank. They need to show that they're delivering. Certainly, they have a huge, you know, they have a mandate also, and then they have a huge following as far as the quest for change, so to speak. You know, that slogan. Niazi Sahab, so for that, they need to take a lot of
Actually,
initiatives.
why we are asking to set a plan for your government within the given period of, because they have given they had given a period of 100 days.
Right,
They will set up a pace for development. They would set a pace for provision of 10 million jobs to youth. They have set up. They had to set up pace for the construction of houses for poor, low cost houses. You see, I think that with this kind of a bureaucracy, which is still that was appointed by the previous government, is looking after that housing project. I think, and they are the most corrupt, and they are known corrupt. they are still looking after these kind of projects. I think
But what
Imran Khan,
option what option do we have at this point?
they should select
Right,
they must select the right people for the right job.
But they have
must
to be within the bureaucracy.
there are several
You're saying
people.
that
I
they
would
must be
comment.
honest, right?
You see that actually there are so many officers
Yes.
who are posted in Khude line in Punjab.
There are many.
And they are honest people. They are capable people. I have seen many people who are not promoted. They were in DMG group or
Because of
DS group.
Fawaz and Fuad.
Right.
Because of Fathers and Fathers, yes.
Exactly.
And you see, they supported to Fathers and Fathers, and it was in the knowledge of the PMLN. And you see, mostly they posted junior people on senior positions, like DIG of Lahore. He was SSP. I don't want to give the name of that because this is not a nice way. The same thing they did with everything. Deputy commissioners were, if there was requirement of 19 grade officer, he posted 18 grade officers. Why? Because then there will be more, you see, obedient to them, and they will know that they can be posted anywhere because they are not deserving for that position. So because of that, completely, you see, they were aware of that what bureaucracy is doing. So this is the responsibility of political leadership. They have to control the bureaucracy. Actually, and I'm sure that there are bureaucrats still available.
Actually, Imran Khan the Prime Minister must focus on 100 days strategy. They must give a complete roadmap of his plan of implementation of manifesto and the promises he has made to youth and the people of Pakistan. He
But
must
very
focus.
carefully. But very carefully, because he has created high hopes of the people.
Of course.
So he has to take step after minutely taking everything into consideration.
Right.
Just one more example
Right,
I would like to
right.
add to whatever both the gentlemen, senior gentlemen has said. There is one very good example we have. Ashir Azim, he was obviously, he appeared in a drama as well. He was working for the customs.
He left the country.
He left the country. He left the country and he's living in Canada right now. Why? Because he was someone who wanted to change the system. He wanted to revolutionize the system. But when he was, asked to do something, he did it brilliantly and he presented it in front of his high-ups. His high-ups didn't like it. Why? Because they do not like revolution within the setup.
Right.
So that's why he left the country
Right.
and he left the services. And he right now, I believe, is in Canada and still seeking change in Pakistan. He expects change in Pakistan.
Right.
There are so many examples. Even
Right, of
people
course.
resigned from
There are
their
many.
positions.
There are many people.
And they opted to join.
And they are still
private-
living in Pakistan.
private service. They are doing private service, you see.
Right. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for joining us. Asmatullah Niazi Saab, thank you for your time. Imtiaz Hussain Warrich Saab, thank you for being with us. Raja Faisal Saab, thank you for joining us. As far as revolution is concerned, it can't be brought in a day. As far as our implementation of ideas is concerned, certainly we need to give the new government time. We need to give them time to formulate their agenda, to set the direction for the country to follow, to bring about the change that they have propagated. Let's hope that we can be patient. Let's hope that we can do that. Thank you so much for joining us today on Prespective.